Ear to the Ground podcast. Hello and welcome to the Ear to the Ground podcast with me, Danny, Billy and Faith.
This week we're going to be reviewing some film, TV and podcast, and we've got Liam Gallagher's new album, S-Town Podcast, and the Star Wars trailer. Now we're going to go to the news with Billy.
News. So Star Wars, the new Star Wars film, The Last Jedi, released a new trailer last night for America. And I've actually decided not to watch this one because the director, Rian Johnson, came out and said, if you want to go in clean, basically don't watch it.
Yeah.
So
If you want to go in clean.
if you want to go in clean, by all means.
If you want to go in
If you
clean.
want to go in clean. What
Sorry.
did you think that meant?
If you want to go in clean, no, don't listen to it.
If you want to go and clean.
If you want to
If
go
you want
and
to go
have a
and clean
clean.
Ryan Johnson's house, then don't watch the trailer.
So yeah,
It'll just spoil the film.
it's saying it aired during NFL.
NFL.
Do it again.
Easy for me to say. An NFL broadcast, and the director's saying he's legitimately torn about it. So he's
Legitimately.
Yeah. Because he
I
basically said, don't watch. Like, I always think that trailers spoil too much now anyway. Or a lot of the time they do, especially when they're like big franchises like that.
I don't even know if they spoil it, but I feel like, for example, Neighbours, the Bad Neighbours films,
Oh.
they just take every funny bit of the film and whack it into the trailer, and it's like the rest is just
I thought you meant the
really.
Australian soap opera Neighbours, so I was like, I've not seen any
It's
trailers for
when
that
good
recently.
neighbours- No, not that
The
one.
theme tune just ruins it because it just tells you what it's all about, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's about when good neighbours become good friends.
Oh, you know
So-
what? I could have
Really good
found that
friends.
out for myself by watching the program.
Is Neighbours even still on?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Should we all watch Neighbours next week and then
Let's
review it?
review the episode of Neighbours after not watching it since.
Challenge.
Yeah,
Since-
we was touching on this, weren't we, about the trailers though. Back onto the point.
I think you were
about
talking about Neighbours.
when we were talking about it.
Preferred the tangent, to be honest.
Stephen King's It. That showed all the best bits in the trailer, didn't it? And it's
Have you seen Stephen
Um,
King's It?
no.
I've seen Stephen King's It.
Billy was telling
We
me.
reviewed it the other
No.
week.
Yeah.
But I think so. Especially with, I noticed it over the summer with Spider-Man: Homecoming. That was the most, just basically every bit of the film, apart from like one last twist in the end, gave away basically like all the film. Or like that you could, there was sort of abridged versions of scenes for the entirety of every pivotal scene basically. So it feels like you'd seen the film by the time
Yeah.
you walk into it.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
To be totally
Yeah.
honest, I don't really get the Star Wars at all. It's
I
not mine.
can say I've
Sci-fi's
never
not
seen
your
a Star
bag, is it?
Wars film.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
I gave it a go about 3 months ago. I thought, right, Star Wars. A guy at work was telling me you need to give it a go, so I'll give it a good go. What Empire Strikes Back and Return of Jedi. I watched
Yeah.
the first two.
New Hope and Empire.
Yeah,
That's
and I just
You've got to try everything at once, haven't you?
Yeah.
Sometimes things aren't for you.
Don't
Sometimes
like
you
it.
quite like
I
them.
was just big
You've got to
into
dip your toe in.
You know what?
jump in the deep end.
Don't knock it till you've tried it.
No.
It's not the only thing that guy told you to try out either.
No.
Sorry.
Anyway, I've been big into Star Wars since I was probably like 5, so I've
Really?
yeah,
OG fan over here.
exactly.
Mm.
Well, not big into it.
Are
You
you
saw
like?
all the figures?
Are you like really happy about the Disney franchise then? Now it's moved over
alright.
to Disney.
I'm trying to sort of reserve judgments about it yet because Episode 7 was basically a retread of Episode 4, and like I enjoyed it and it was good, but I want it to do something else now.
See, the thing is, I don't know if I'd like it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about it
No.
other than Yoda.
It sort of
Other than
daunts
Yoda.
me.
Yoda's not
Daunts
in
me
it.
as well. That
Yoda's not in it.
He dies in the 5th one. I don't consider that a spoiler for like a 40-year-old
Did
film.
you just... Naughty boy.
Yeah, so it daunts me the amount of films that they've got to
Yeah.
watch as well. It's just like it's
I
like
feel
a big,
like that about a lot of things.
yeah, like a big series. Like
Not really, because
The
you can just
Walking
watch
Dead.
the first one and it'll be okay. And then
I find watching
Mm.
one film like a task.
like a huge undertaking
Yeah.
of an hour and a
Yeah,
half.
no, honestly,
of
it's
your
like,
time.
do I want to invest time?
Although apparently the new Star Wars is going to be like over 2.5 hours long.
Oof.
I think it's 2 hours 45. Sorry, because Force Awakens was 2.5 hours,
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel like 2.5 hours, but it felt.
Is
like
that the one with the
quite
little
long.
like
the ball, the newer one?
BB-8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know the names.
Yeah.
Ah, proud of
know.
you.
Only because they made a toy of it.
They make a toy of everything, they.
And
Yeah.
you could
anyway.
use it from your iPhone or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to trailers.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Apparently, it doesn't spoil too much, but I don't really want to. I want to try and experience a film that you go in clean, because
I'm
I
sorry.
don't think I've
You're
done
gonna
that
have
in
to
ages.
phrase that differently.
There's so
I can't
many
take
innuendos
it seriously.
going on in this
You're gonna have
this
to go in
opening
clean.
feature.
Well,
Right. Let's moving
So
swiftly on.
so it's more about me than it does
We'll
about
slip straight into the next show.
I wish you
bit
hadn't
of
said
news.
that either. We'll walk there. All right. We'll all walk hand in hand to the next bit. Danny, what is it?
So basically, why not festival owners have pledged huge improvements for the 2018 festival. The 2017 festival, which Billy did attend,
I did
was-
As written in the article.
As
was-
written, Billy did attend this festival, just to let everyone
Billy,
know.
20.
Did attend
But yeah.
this festival.
it was cancelled midway over safety fears following extreme weather. So it was basically just very muddy and
Yeah.
lots of
Tell us about
puddles.
it, Billy.
Basically.
Take us there.
Well, what do you want me to say? It rained all day Friday
Hmm.
for something like 17 hours.
Wow.
And then it didn't rain at all on Saturday. Everything was fine on Saturday. It was really muddy, obviously.
Yeah.
But everything, like all the acts went on as normal. I think. Oh yeah, that's it. Vaccines and Clean Bandit got cancelled on the Friday, or Clean Bandit played like 3 songs or something.
Yeah.
Then on the Saturday they all went ahead as normal, but were
Muddy Bandit.
pushed to a bit earlier.
Not
Like-
so clean Bandit.
I see what you're trying to do there. It's a bit late, but
Yeah.
yeah. So all the acts got pushed earlier, and then it didn't rain at all. It sort of started drizzling a bit Saturday night, but then it was all fine by Sunday. And then someone came round to our tent Sunday and told us that it had been cancelled on the Sunday.
It's a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
It
Was-
is to say it didn't rain for like a day,
Yeah.
and it was
Um,
basically just because it got so muddy. And I mean, I don't know what exactly happened, like that they don't tell you, but
Yeah. Unless the arena was unsafe, but
I think that's what they were trying to say. But I don't know if anything did happen to anyone. Like,
no,
No, I don't think it did.
I don't think
I
there was
don't think
nothing.
so
Never.
either. There was
anything
lots of
came from
rumours
was
when it first got cancelled anyway. But I don't know what's true and
And
what's not.
Did you not get any money back from this?
Yeah,
cancellation?
they got refunded half the base ticket price.
Right.
So I think I got like 50 quid or something back. So it's not bad.
Yeah, that's.
And I guess for what I went, lots of people are really angry about it because lots of people had a lot worse experiences than me. But for what I went for, like it was all right.
yeah.
I got
Are you
2
gonna
solid
go
days
next-
of festival.
Are you going to go next year?
Possibly. Depends who gets announced.
Ooh.
Yeah, we were saying this
Thanks.
last year, and it didn't really grab me. I didn't.
I didn't reckon much to
Fancy.
the set this year, but I had my ticket paid for. So, and most of the people I wanted to see were on Sunday, so that's kind of a bit good.
Yeah. Oh well. But yeah. So.
This is this is the time of festival after movies.
Yeah. So yeah, they've pledged to. They're getting new security apparently because lots of people complained about security. I don't have a problem with them, but obviously lots of people did. And yeah, what else have they pledged? They pledged
Better
to
groundworks.
the better groundworks and an actual reviewed weather plan or something. I was
A
reading them.
reviewed We're going to
Mm.
control the weather
Yeah, we are
by
going
force.
We are going to invent a weather machine to make
they're
sure.
They're gonna go up to the Stonehenge.
Yeah,
Just have a party, like
a bit of a
rain
pagan
party.
festival.
Yeah, that's the pre party, the
Yeah.
prees, the pre
freeze
drinks,
at Stonehenge.
prees at Stonehenge.
Actual night in
Clothes
Pike Hall.
not essential.
Okay.
Faith will be in
Sounds
the
like
middle.
A different kind of party. That. So yeah, that is all that's been going on in the
Yeah.
news. It's not all that's been going
In
on
the
in the news.
news.
There's been more things that have happened, but
Yeah.
they're the things that we're going to talk about
Billy's
in
got
the
a
news.
blinkered view of the news.
It's literally those 2 pieces of news, and that's it. That's all that's happened in the
Du-
world.
du-
So-
du.
So we're gonna move on now to our our first review, which is Liam Gallagher's new album, As You Were.
Music.
It's been it's just come out of what I've just seen. It's the highest selling UK #1 album since Ed Sheeran's Divide album, and he's outselling the rest of the top 20 combined. So, do you think this is all the Oasis fans just getting back on it? Because he has...
I think so.
I think it's 100%
I think
hype.
the reception's been like quite divided on it, really, isn't it? Cause,
Yeah.
and I suppose like it depends if you like Liam Gallagher as if you're gonna like it or not. Because I didn't really like the album, to be honest.
I like him.
I don't really like the album.
I
don't mind him. I don't particularly feel any way about him. I think he's quite funny, but no, the album's just a bit. It all sounds the same. It all sounds like the Oasis, but
Yeah.
like
I think
Oasis.
Diet Oasis.
Diet, like, yeah.
If there's
like,
such a drink.
Like midlife crisis Oasis.
Oasis
I mean,
zero sugar.
I don't
Look.
agree with this. I'm going to disagree with you, respectfully.
We've got a fire coming over the desk.
But yeah, I can see what you're saying, like it is, and I don't think it's much different from what he's done before, or what Oasis have done before, what BDI did before that, but I still think it's probably, I think everyone's got a bit bored of Noel, and Liam's just out there with his, like, just doesn't care, does he? So I really think he was needed, and if we're getting to music, I think that Bold's a great song, For What It's Worth's a great song, Wall of Glass is a great song as well. I really do like them songs. They're the ones off the top of my head that I can think of.
I don't mind it. I mean, can I say my opinion?
Yeah, of course you can.
I'm a bit in the middle. Like, I don't mind it. I don't find anything particularly offensive about it, but I don't find anything that interesting about it either.
Yeah.
Like, I was listening to it and
very
thinking,
beige.
what am I gonna talk about? Because I couldn't really pick it that much out to talk about.
I
Yeah.
I was like,
listening.
It's just some sort of poppy indie
Yeah.
album, and that's that.
Yeah.
There's
I
a
had
few
to knock it
catchy
on the
ones.
head after a while.
Did you?
I think I had like 4 songs left, and I was like, I feel like I've heard them.
Oh, I got all the way
already,
through it at
couldn't do
least twice. But
I know what you mean. I think, like, I always like and respect a band more, or an artist who does different things every time, like tries to
Yeah.
do something different.
that's what I feel
Whereas-
like is not, because
Yeah,
I
he
feel
hasn't
like
done anything
all the sort
different.
of lead up to it has been like, oh, you know, this is going to be a great album.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
bringing rock and roll music back, and it's just sort of like a bit plain.
The
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
stuff churned out again.
Lukewarm.
I was chatting about this before, like, and I think that the timing was right as well, though, because if you think that he came back on the scene, and as horrible as it was about the Manchester bombing, he came back and did that Ariana Grande concert and got himself out there, and everyone needed Liam Gallagher there then, and I think
Yeah.
all of the Oasis fans, especially after he did that and Live Forever, everyone just came
That's
together
true.
around it.
But then also, I feel like it's sort of a marketing tactic, the fact that he's like more lenient than he was nowadays, that he's like less of an abrasive person, I guess. It's weird with him now, because sometimes he is and then sometimes he isn't.
Yeah,
Because like he made up with Coldplay, who you never usually see him associated with. Did he say that Chris Martin's like a geography teacher or something?
yeah.
And there are a bunch of students.
Yeah, and he's
think-
recently just made up with James Corden, hasn't he?
Yeah, after he called him
The
that
fat
fat
one.
one from Kevin and Perry.
I think,
He does say some funny
Yeah.
things.
I think he's dead funny, to be honest.
he
But
can do what he wants though, because he is
Yeah.
Liam Gallagher, so he is going to get the fans. Well, yeah, he's going to get the fans because he's got.
He is, but I think he was sort of making up with all those people for sort of more of a pop appeal. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, but
Because some people are going to go, I don't like Liam Gallagher, so I'm not going to buy his music because he said this about
Yeah.
James Corden, or he says this about Coldplay. And I feel that that's just sort of more pandering to a wider...
I think the Liam Gallagher of 10 years ago would never have
No, that's
performed
what I
with
mean.
Coldplay, or even like apologised to James Corden. He would have just told him where to go, wouldn't he? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's got enough good singles out of that album, but it's not a great album. But yeah, like you say, it's all very
Yeah.
samey.
yeah,
There's a lot of albums like
take
that
it
at the
or leave
moment.
it for me.
There's a
I'll
lot of
probably leave
albums, a lot of guitar albums at the moment like that, I think.
Yeah, that's
Like
what I
what?
mean.
Like very sound the same. Catfish in a Bottle, and a lot of their songs are very, very similar.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Catfish at the bottom, and
Like-
yeah, but okay, what Catfish are on like their third album?
Second album,
Second
so
album,
well, yeah,
working
then
on
their
the third
third
album.
Blossoms.
They're still in the like they're still new. Do you know
Whereas
what I mean?
Liam Gallagher's been
Whereas
doing it
Liam
30
Gallagher
years.
kind of has this.
Yeah.
He could have been a lot more experimental because he's got such a strong fan base behind him. So he's kind of almost got like a security blanket that if he was to do something really like radical and different, he would have at least got some sales.
Yeah.
But he's not done
And I
anything
think-
different.
I think that's why he's popular in the first place, because people like that he's radical and different. You know what I mean? I think that's why, because like he's sort of anti-pop or whatever, but then his music's just sort of more indie pop now than it ever has been.
Morphing into it.
When he keeps saying about bringing rock and roll back and stuff, and like,
Well, yeah.
it's not that like rocky at all, really, is it?
But he might mean rock and roll in the terms
In
of
the-
like stage performance
attitude
and his
and stuff.
attitude. Yeah.
Well, he's always got his hands tied behind his back, hasn't he?
Do you know what's quite funny is there is a video playing on the screen and him and Danny wearing the same coat.
Not
That
the
is
same
quite
coat,
funny,
is it?
actually.
It's similar.
Oh,
Well,
well,
I think the only thing that's different is the hood. But it's
And
essen-
it-
yeah, it's
Danny's like a
essentially the
fair.
same coat, mate.
No, it's not. It's a smart coat, though. I'll give him that.
he looks devilishly handsome in it.
Yeah, but like you say, this album, he's actually brought people in to help him his songwriting. So the guy who does Adele, Greg Kurstin, and Andrew Wyatt, who's helped for Florence and the Machine, he's been with them writing songs. So do you think 15
I
years
think maybe
ago
that's why it sounds a bit paced.
Yeah,
that might be why it sounds a bit
Paced.
boring.
Paste on a bus.
yeah.
Yeah, paste on a bus. Sounds a bit like paste on a
So
bus.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't think it's one of my greats, and I won't like be going back to it a lot. But I think it's good fun for.
It's
like,
alright,
a bit.
yeah. I was listening to it thinking, oh, these songs are technically okay, but
Yeah.
nothing really grabbed me as
No.
I was listening to it through. And I
No.
was just sort of like, there were points where I was thinking, oh, this is a good song. And then the points where I was thinking, oh, these lyrics or this music is so, like,
Obvious.
yeah, it's really
that's what
sort
I
of
thought.
generic.
What was the song? I think it might have been Wall of Glass. It was either Wall of Glass or Universal Gleam.
Mine was Greedy Soul that I thought the lyrics were just sort of,
Yeah.
like, this is the easiest thing you could have
that-
possibly
That
done.
Chinatown as well is
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely dreadful for that. You're just thinking, where is he pulling these out from these lyrics?
It was
Yeah.
nothing like the rhyming
Yeah.
scheme's so simple,
But-
and it's so
Yep.
But then I
know what I
also
mean?
like think to myself, well, just forget about that and just enjoy the music. Like that's what
that's
I know.
true.
I also like
Um,
music which is challenging, but then I think you've got to. I think to myself, like, stop being so
Just to have
pretentious
it on in
over
the
it,
background.
pretentious over it, and just get on with it.
That's
and
true.
it
And I'm
is
sure
what it
that's what
is.
Liam
Yeah.
Gallagher would say
Yeah.
if he could hear
I think
critical responses.
I'm not really one for like listening to music and being like, "Ooh, I wonder what this lyric means."
No, I'm not.
But like,
But
yeah,
when
I
it's
I
that
tried
obvious,
it and
When it's so simple and like you
it's
can tell that,
blindingly
yeah.
obvious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the nose.
No, yeah.
But no, I think, and I also listened to the album song after song after song after song. Like,
Well, like you say, the singles might be
It does
alright
get
if
a
it
bit-
came
it
up in a
gets a bit
playlist
samey.
or whatever. But
Yeah. It is a bit much. I do agree with you. I've even struggled listening to
it feels like
listen
it's
to the
it
album
feels
all
like
the way
it's
through.
engineered for people to sing in choruses at festivals.
Yeah, but like I said before, I
good
think
one.
the
Mm,
timing
yeah.
is he's been away for that long. Everyone's sort of been ready for him to come back, and he's
And that's probably
Yeah.
why I'm so underwhelmed that he just comes back with like
Yeah, I think me too.
that.
Like,
Just-
and Noel as well. I think people have just been waiting for either of them to.
yeah.
I
No,
think Noel's okay. I think Noel also puts out pretty much the
Oh,
same
yeah.
stuff that sounds
Yeah.
the same, but I sort of like that more. Maybe it's because he's less outspoken about
Yeah,
it
I
than
think-
Liam,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Okay.
and maybe that's why. Maybe it's sort of his attitude towards it that puts me up. Like he's like, "Oh, I'm doing things so differently to everyone else," and then it's like,
You're not though, mate.
Yeah.
it's not that different, really.
Well, before people get like bored of us who like same drool about Liam Gallagher sounding the same.
how ironic.
I
How
get it.
ironic.
It's
So yeah,
we're
shall we,
mirroring.
shall we move onto TV and Louis Theroux's Dark States dash Heroin Town TV.
Dash Heroin Town.
Oh, I've seen this.
Oh, now you realise that
Sorry.
you've seen this. It was on Sunday.
No, I think I'm thinking of the one where he went to a town addicted to meth, or city addicted to meth.
Close things.
He loves his Class A's, doesn't he?
No,
Yeah.
He's a hard hitter, isn't he?
He watches people. Something that struck me about it was that he watched people take drugs and didn't even sort of flinch, and he was just
Yeah, he did the same. He went to a meth house and was like with people cooking meth.
Yeah.
It's like, are you okay, hun?
He has got some balls, hasn't he?
Not anymore. Sorry.
I get it.
We lost him in the meth house.
Do you want to give us a bit of an overview?
Yeah, so basically it's about Huntington, Virginia. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
A
West
town
Virginia.
that used to be sort of an industrial steel mill sort of town. And then basically all the industry went away and people got addicted to these painkillers that they were prescribing for the workers, and sometimes like the kids would get into them and start on them, and then basically the pharmaceutical company they made that drug illegal, so they started getting them in like illegally, those painkillers.
What are they called? Do you know?
I can't remember.
I
off the
think
top
I
of
have
my
seen
head.
this. Sorry.
Yeah, so they started getting them in illegally, and then they became too rare and like too expensive, so people went to heroin instead because it's basically the same effect that it does.
The frightening truth at the heart of Huntington's epidemic may be that anyone can get caught up. One bad choice can wreck a life.
Hey, Alvin.
With Cotilia, her early promise had been overtaken by a litany of crimes and a glaring gulf between what she might have achieved and the harsh reality.
We finally got to some good stuff. Yes. And today's needle exchange day, so fresh needles and good dope. We're doing good.
So then basically I think they said 1 in 4 adults are addicted to heroin.
Yeah.
Or use heroin.
It's because it's the if I'm right in thinking the painkiller was a form of opiate, which is just the same.
Well, I
same
think
thing.
that's what they say. They say they're addicted to heroin or some other form of opiate.
Mm.
And it was really depressing, but also Louis Theroux,
Yeah.
I don't know, I like his style that he sort of infuses bits in it. Like, Petty Betty was the name of one of the people that drove them places. And he's like, would you like to be called Petty or Betty? And he's like, well, my name's Jessica. And he brings like little sort of one-liners like that in that the contributors make you laugh more than, even though it's in a horrible situation and looking at sort of horrible topics, it just
he's I think he's a very good presenter, isn't he? He's great at that sort of that style, and I don't know, he's sort of, I'm trying to think of the word. He just makes you. It does make you feel really sad, obviously, and he's like.
Yeah, I don't think he dilutes anything in his documentaries, does he? He just sort of presents things to you as they are.
Yeah, I saw one in Miami. It wasn't a jail. It's before they got the trials, and he was there walking into the cells and stuff, and he was the same there. He just
walks about. Yeah, he just walks about like he's not really pushy with his questions either, is he?
Yeah.
He's very British about it.
Yeah.
Some blokes asking him what size shoes he is, and he's like, "Why?" He said, "I'm going to have them shoes," and he's just like, "Why do you want my shoes?" And that's it. So, but yeah,
but yeah, it's a really good documentary. They just follow lots of people are just like addicted to heroin. You've got me saying meth now.
Sorry.
Lots of people are just addicted to heroin and they want to get off it like naturally. But there was this one guy who basically, at the start, he was going, "Why would I want to get off it? I feel like good all the time."
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end, he sort of said, he that he got hit by a car, so he got addicted to painkillers from that, and then he went to heroin. And basically, if he stops using it, he was like, "Why would I want to like bring all that pain back into my life?" And he's like, "I've got nothing else to live for, so I might as well just do this to myself."
Sad.
Yeah, it was really. Definitely recommended.
What a real Debbie Downer.
It is. That's why I was apprehensive about talking about this, because it's a bit of a
But
A dark subject.
Louis Theroux is probably
Dark States.
The
one-
Dark State.
But
he's one of the best like documentary makers around.
I
isn't he?
think
Like,
so.
Yeah.
I think he's my favourite, definitely.
Um,
Just everything he does
he's
is
just
so...
consistent, I think.
He is,
It's the
yeah. And he's done so
consistency.
much, and
Yeah. He's like a safety blanket, isn't he? You know what you're going to get
you
with
know what
Louis.
you're going to get with Louis Theroux. He'll
Snuggle
probably
up.
make you think and make you cry,
Snuggle up
and
underneath him.
sometimes laugh.
Yeah. It's what I'm reading here is it's quite funny when he asks Mickey all politely and posh Englishly.
Don't carry on reading that.
Have you sucked to get high?
Yeah, yeah. And then he goes, no, but I've been sucked. He's like, I won't do that. He's like, so there are limits. And he's like, yes, there are limits.
So yeah, but it is an awful situation for people to be in, I guess. But yeah,
Like I said, he brings the right amount of Louis Theroux humour to even that. And it's a 3-part thing. I don't think it's all about Heroin Town, but I think there's one on next Sunday as well.
right.
Nice.
I'm gonna get on it, mate. I really want to watch that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah.
From Heroin Town to a different kind of town. Actually, it's very
What does
similar.
S-Town stand for? Because I've not listened to this. This is the
S-Town
podcast
stands
section.
for...
This is the podcast section, by the way.
Oh, yeah, podcast. Podcast.
So we're gonna look at now S-Town, which is a podcast done by Serial, the people who made Serial and This American Life, which Serial was they're both massive podcasts in America,
Yeah,
aren't
they were like the podcast that like commercialized podcasts,
Yeah.
if you will. Brought podcasts from being
Yeah.
indie to not so indie.
Oh, so cool and edgy.
It is so cool.
But yeah, so it is. Do you wanna go into it a
Okay.
bit more, Faith?
I've tried explaining this several times
Yeah, recently.
recently, and I'm right. I'll just give it my best shot.
Well, I've not listened to it, so I'm going to have to understand
Okay.
it.
So it's this man called John B. It's a tongue
John
twister.
Blee Black.
John
Um,
B. McLemore. He
Yeah.
writes to a journalist at Serial and says, "Come and investigate my S-Town." Do you get what S stands for?
No.
SH.
No.
Yeah,
Oh.
because we
Yeah.
don't want to be going on the explicit.
Okay.
No, we
the-
don't. We want to stay
so-
on the
clean.
clean.
The
We want to
clean
go into
spectrum.
it clean,
Yeah.
if you
You want
will.
to go into it clean?
Want to go into it
Oh, you
clean.
ruined that at the start, didn't you?
Anywho, right. So it's about this guy called John B. McLemore, and he writes to Serial and says, "Come and investigate my S-Town. There's all this corruption that goes on," and
Yeah.
he says that like the police are corrupt and stuff like that.
He said there'd been a murder, didn't he?
There had been a
There's
murder.
been a murder.
There's been a murder.
A murder.
This young boy was murdered, and it was covered up because the guy who killed him was the son of a very rich, important family in the town.
Yeah.
It's a town called What's it called? Yeah, it's Alabama.
Yeah, it's in
The town-
Alabama.
It's in-
but
sorry,
it's,
it's not-
Oh, the town
Alabama
of
is the
Alabama in
state.
Alabama.
Yeah.
The
but it's-
geography is not great. I'm sorry.
yeah, he
It's
doesn't
it's
really.
Woodstock.
Yeah, Woodstock. Yeah.
Woodstock.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So this
Woodstock,
guy
right.
gets several letters for like a year, doesn't he? He gets
Yeah.
bombarded by John B. McLemore and ends up giving in and going to meet him. And when he meets him and finds out where he lives, he just kind of gets. He's
Yeah.
just so intrigued by
He-
John's personality.
He's probably the biggest character I've ever heard on radio or anything like that. He's just
Yeah, he's an
it-
absolute
yeah.
gem. Like it's kind of irritating that Serial got this story
Yeah.
because it's perfect.
yeah, it
isn't
is, and he's like a typical like
He's everything you could
Yeah.
want from a radio contributor. He is, honestly.
The
He's
Dream Radio.
anyway, so the story kind of like develops and kind of turns from being about this murder story to more about John and his like his view on the world. He's very, very like
yeah,
specific and unique. Like
and he's one of the, like a really clever guy, wasn't he? He used to fix
Yeah.
clocks, like really old clocks, didn't he, and stuff like
yeah,
that.
he's really
Like-
into like antique clocks, and
Yeah.
I don't want to like spoil it, but
no.
Do you find out who did the murder?
Well, yeah, it sort of develops
Yeah.
into not into the murder story, into John's story, and then you like
it kind of
go
gets to
along.
the point where you're not really bothered about the murder
Yeah.
Oh, right.
because
Wow.
the plot line changes.
Yeah,
You've definitely sold me on it.
it literally is one of the, I would say it's my favourite podcast I've ever listened to, this one.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. But yeah, it's funny and then also really sad, and I actually think I teared up towards the end of it.
Oh, do you want to talk about it? It's a safe space.
Yeah, come on then.
I've changed my mind.
But yeah, it was brilliant. I loved it so much, but and it was really sad without wanting to give too much away because Billy hasn't listened to it, have you?
No, so
we can't give away. But
let's not do that.
yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it?
I think you can. He's one of those people that teaches you about life to be brief. I couldn't think of a word. I was like,
we were all trying
to be.
work out what you were going to say at the end of that.
Yeah, he's
Succinct.
very blunt and like and it turns out like he's got a another life really away from his persona what he has in his hometown, doesn't he? So and it just to me his mother's like in her 80s or she's really old and he's I don't know they've got a load of gold as well, haven't they? They're meant to be really rich.
Yeah.
And he's I don't know, it's just fascinating to think that he lived this double life and if like anyone within his like town or his close circle would have known that, they would have completely
Thought of him differently.
yeah, probably disowned him. Like yeah, I think he was scared of that, wasn't he? But yeah, it was brilliant. Like I really enjoyed it. It was a really touching podcast.
It's brilliant. Definitely recommend it.
I think I actually hammered it. I binged on it in within about like a week, probably not even that.
I think even if you're not a podcast person, Serial are very good at making podcasts that are just like blockbuster like podcasts that you have to listen to them.
Yeah.
They're just applicable for everyone because they're so interesting.
Yeah, and there's like 7 episodes, and they're all like they're not longer than like an hour really, so they are easy enough to listen to, not like loads and loads and loads of content thrown at you, so it is good and I would definitely recommend it.
One thing I found is the stories are so heavy that I would take I'd listen to half an hour and then go back to it again.
Yeah, so
they are intense.
I'd listen to it on my commute, and then so sometimes I'd just stop in between, like when I'd go to work or into uni, and then I'd stop and then I'd just pick it back up at the end of the day, and it was easy to listen to, but then it really draws you in as well. It's got the great sort of finishing on a cliffhanger as well, hasn't it? Like more or less every episode you're like always leaves you wanting more. But yeah.
Well, thanks very much for listening. That's been it for this week on It's the Ground podcast. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.